Hey everyone, Vince here, and welcome back to another practice session of Tai Chi Easy. Today we're going to start taking some of those things we've been learning over the past weeks and put them together. So we're going to add the Tai Chi stationary to the Tai Chi walking, and we're going to start playing with the Tai Chi walking as a complete unit. We're also going to touch base on some of the basic things. So if you haven't been here before, it might be a good idea to go back to the first video in this series and just kind of work your way back up. Otherwise, it might feel like we kind of threw you in the deep end here. But feel welcome to stay here and watch along and follow along the best you can. All right, let's start with our alignment. We always want to align the body between heaven and earth. So we do this by getting in our Wuji posture, standing nice and tall, feet parallel, shoulder width apart, soften those knees, adjust the tailbone. Remember how we rotated the pelvis a little bit so the tailbone is pointing straight down to the floor rather than back towards the wall. Allow that crown of the head to float up, opening the core area of the body. And notice when the spine is upright, how much easier it is to breathe. Take a nice deep full breath into the belly, and then a nice relaxing exhalation. Try that a few more times. Nice deep breath. Nice long exhalation. Do all your breathing for now through the nose, in and out. And as you breathe long, slow, and deep, notice the change that happens in the body. Things start to relax, starting to produce more of those good chemicals like the endorphins, some of the other things that help the body rest and regenerate rather than producing adrenaline and cortisol. So the longer we can breathe calmly and slowly, the longer we can stay in that nice restorative state. And while you're breathing and feeling the benefits of the body calming down, you should also start to notice the mind starting to quiet. And just to make sure, let's disconnect ourselves from all our responsibilities for the next half hour. Keep yourself here in the present. And whenever the mind starts to wander, just focus on the body, focus on the breath. All right, we're going to do a little knocking on Heaven's Gate to help get ourselves warmed up. A little turning of the torso, keeping the spine upright, shoulders relaxed. Still taking those long, slow, deep breaths. All right, and let's let the body become quiet. Good, take a deep breath, let it out nice and slow. And we're going to start warming up the spine a little bit. Just the cervical area at first, so we're just going to drop the head down. Inhale, pick the chin back up. Keeping our awareness connected to that space between the shoulders and the base of the skull. Gently moving those vertebrae. Gently stretching the muscles and tendons of the neck. Bring your eyes up to the center point and let's turn the chin to the wall side and then back over to the window side. Again, keeping the spine nice and tall, weight evenly distributed on both feet. Keeping our minds focused on the task at hand, which is simply breathing and gentle movement. And bring your eyes back to the center. We're going to pretend we have a paintbrush on the end of our chin and we're going to draw some circles. So drop the chin down, turn to one side and lift. Gently come down the other side. And when you get to the starting point, go back the way you came. We're going to do 3 or 4 cycles of this. Remember to keep this all in your personal safety zone. If this movement is irritating the neck, then please modify the movement so it takes that irritation out of play. And if that doesn't help, then just don't do this exercise. All right, let's do one more cycle. Remember to keep that focus on the breath, focus on how the body feels at any given point today, and focus on the mind, making sure that we don't get those extra dialogue going on that we don't need. All right, bring your eyes back to the center position. We're going to loosen up the rest of the spine, and let's just do this with our forward bend. We start with a nice deep breath in. Exhale down, bending at the waist, softening the knees, stretching out the spine, and then slowly back up. And then roll the shoulders back, a little arch, and then stand nice and tall. Let's do that 2 more times. Big breath in, exhale, inhale, okay, 1 more. All right, and shake that out. All right, if you remember the last time we got together, we did something called the shift and pivot, and that was for our balance work. And then what this shift and pivot does is it helps you learn how to shift the weight from side to side, understanding emptiness on one side, fullness on the other, and then how that translates over. But more importantly, what's going on is we're waking up some of those neurosensors in our feet and lower limbs, lower legs, to help us control our balance. And if we understand where our weight is at any given time, then we know how we can move our feet and keep ourselves stable. So this is kind of the groundwork for Tai Chi walking. So I'm going to step back a little bit. We're going to start off with our shift and pivot like we did last time. So hands aren't going to be used for a while, so you can just place them anywhere it's convenient. And you're going to mirror image what I do. So we're going to talk about the window side and wall side. So if I say shift your weight to the window side, this is the side you want to go to. All right, so check your feet again, feet shoulder width, nice tall spine. Put your hands any place that's comfortable. And make sure your eyes are out. I know you want to look at the computer to see what I'm doing, but once we get started, you should be able to just maybe glance once in a while at the picture. The rest of the time, keep your eyes off in the distance if you can, or an imaginary distance. Here we go. We're going to bring all the weight over to the window side. This frees up the wall side legs, so I can pivot my torso about 30 degrees or so, and then bring my weight in that direction towards the wall. Pull my weight back, pivot to the center point. Now bring all my weight over to the wall side. Pivot to the window side, shift my weight towards the window, pull back. And notice that I'm shifting the weight by just bending my knees. I bend this knee, the window side, my weight goes to that side. Now, if I bend this knee and straighten this one, my weight goes forward. I'm not doing it by bending at the waist, moving my shoulders. I'm just staying nice and tall, nice and relaxed, and doing a very easy shift and pivot. Okay, now we're going to add an element. I want you to bring about 75% of your weight into the window side leg, just enough that you can start to feel the heel of the wall side foot come off the floor and then come back. We're starting to train ourselves a little more about that fullness and emptiness. So this side feels more full. This side starts to feel empty, as almost this leg can come off the ground. But we're not quite there yet. A few more shift and pivots, letting the heel come off. Notice how comfortable your body's starting to feel with that. Most of your weight is in one leg. It's evenly distributed from the heel to the toe, from the right to the left. And what's helping that is the position of the rest of the body. If you do a little experiment, shift your weight, and then look down at the floor, you're going to notice all of a sudden your weight just shifted to the ball of your foot. Pick your head back up. You're going to notice that weight settles back more towards the heel of your foot. So this is why it's so important that we keep the head upright and the spine nice and tall so that we don't offset our balance. All right, this time, let's bring 100% of our weight into the window side. When you feel comfortable, pick the wall side foot off the floor about an inch or two. Just hold that and then drop back down. Pivot back in, shift the weight to the window side. Now let's go to the wall side. Same thing. When you feel comfortable and this leg feels totally empty, pick that foot up, drop it back down. Now there's a couple things you can do if you're not sure if the weight is all the way out of that leg before you pick it up. And one thing you can do is the weight-bearing leg, if you flex that knee just a little bit more, that really takes all the weight out of that leg. And now you're guaranteed you can pick that up. Okay. All right. Now, Tai Chi walking is what's going to come next. In Tai Chi walking, we take very small steps. We never want to fall into the step. So basically, the step is going to be very short, very easy. But the second thing is, when you see me pivot back to the center, notice my feet are still shoulder width. I'm maintaining that shoulder width stance. And I'm going to maintain that the entire time I'm doing my Tai Chi practice. So as I walk towards the camera, and as you walk towards me, remember to keep your feet shoulder width apart. And I'll show you how to do that. Let's shift over to the wall side. Now, when you pick this foot up, I want you to first bring it in towards the heel and then make a half circle. Now notice that foot didn't go very far. If I show you from the side, I shift and pivot. Now this is not a big step. It's a small step, but I'm maintaining my shoulder width. So that's very important in our Tai Chi. So let's try this again. We're going to take some steps going forward. Let's shift over to the window side, pivot to the wall. When you're ready, make that half circle with your foot, place the heel. Now roll the weight into that foot so the toes are on the floor. I want you to pull back. Pivot the body about 10 degrees out to the window side. Bring all your weight now into that forward leg. This is your next step. Bring it in, half circle. Place the foot. Notice how I roll into the toes, pull back. Pivot about 10 or 15 degrees. Bring all the weight into this leg, half circle. Drop. Notice I'm still maintaining my railroad tracks, my shoulder width stance. Still maintaining that tall spine. All right. Now, probably like you, I'm starting to run out of room, so we're just going to do another step or two, try to squeeze it in here and get used to this walking. Still breathing long, slow, and deep. Still staying connected to the body, so I know where my spine is. I know what's going on with the hips, the knees, and the ankles. Okay. So, Tai Chi walking. Now, just to review a couple of things, when you take that step, if you need to drag the toe for stability, if you're having problems with balance, that's fine. You can just swing that foot out. In time, what you'll be able to do is shift and pivot, pick that other foot up and just bring it straight forward and then roll your body into it. But notice what's happening with the Tai Chi walking. Every time I move, I'm shifting and pivoting the torso still. As I shift back, I pivot to the other side. Hips and shoulders and eyes, more importantly, are going in that direction. I take my step. Now, the hips and shoulders and eyes come forward. Pull back. Hips, shoulders, and eyes go to the opposite side. Take my step. Pivot to the center. This is very important because when we talked earlier, a few sessions ago, we talked about how the arms are used very little when we do Tai Chi. And what's happening is the body is turning. The torso turns and it looks like the arms are doing a lot more. So this is critical for Tai Chi. We're going to be taking steps and turning right down the center line. And if this was being practiced or learned as a martial art, that would be very critical because here's where the energy is going to come from your opponent, right? It's going to come right at you from the front. So we're going to take our movements and we're going to direct that energy right towards our target, okay? So we want to make sure we get this rotation or this turning of the hips, shoulders, and really important is the eyes, because if you're turning this way, but you're looking that way, now shoulders going to drop, hips going to drop, you're going to have trouble maintaining your balance. So even though I know you want to watch the camera and see what's going on, it's best to look away and then come in. All right? Good. So I want you to practice that Tai Chi walking on your own a little bit. Come back and look at this video a few times to get it. And then we're going to move forward now and look at doing one or two of the Tai Chi forms with the opening. So remember last week we talked a little bit about the opening. We're going to start with our feet together, hands on the lower dantian. And typically the signal when you're in a group to start your practice is the leader will drop his hands, and that's usually the connection to start moving the body. So Tai Chi opening, just to review, nice tall spine, hands on our belly, and we're going to sink all the weight into one leg, one side or the other. Traditionally, in this form, we sink the weight to the wall side leg to start and spread the arms. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to sink down, step out, and this is that first turn. All right, this is our first shift and pivot. So notice the mechanics of what's happening here. We're sinking the weight. We're taking a step. Notice how I'm placing the heel, pivoting that foot, bringing that hand right over into that first position for parting the wild horse's mane, or if you prefer, harmonizing yin and yang. Then I can take my step and part the wild horse's mane. So let's try that a couple of times. Nice tall spine, hands on the lower dantian. Let's sink the weight to the wall side. Take your step, pivot. All right, let's do it to the other side. Sink all the weight this time to the window side leg. Sink down, step out with the wall side leg, sweep the window side hand across to the bottom of the ball. All right. We need to be able to do this on both sides because we do the Tai Chi form on both sides when we complete it. So this side, then this side. Here we go. Begin. Step. Okay. Now to the other side. Sink the weight. Step. Good. All right. Now we're going to add that parting wild horse's mane or harmonizing yin and yang, and we're going to do it several times just to get used to feeling what it's like, getting used to that flow. So feet together, hands on our belly. We're going to step out to the window side. So nice tall spine, and let's begin. Stepping out, and then part the wild horse's mane. Shift back. Remember we did this in our practice. Sweep that window side hand across. Bring your weight to the wall side leg. Take your step. Part the wild horse's mane. Let's just keep repeating that. Shift back, pivot towards the windows. Holding the ball on the window side hip, we take our step. Top hand pushes down, bottom hand floats up. Pull back, sweep that window hand to the other side, bringing your ball to the wall side hip. Take that step, part the wild horse's mane. Pull back, nice tall spine. Last one. All right. Now I realize there's a lot going on here. We're walking, we're stepping, we're turning, we're shifting weight, we're doing it real slow, and that's the way we want to try to keep it. So don't feel like you're not getting it. This is the first time out of the box that we're playing with everything together, and it takes a while. And what's fun with Tai Chi is a lifetime of refinement. So you may get things in a couple of weeks or sooner, and all of a sudden now when things improve, your balance is better. It's kind of almost like starting all over because you can move more freely. Now it changes things a little bit. So let's try this again. Hands on the lower dantian, we're going to step out to the window side. And here we go. Sink the weight. Take your steps, sweep across. Part the wild horse's mane. Keep those knees nice and soft. Tailbone remains facing the floor. Spine is tall, shoulders relaxed. Nice. Keep it coming. Emptiness and fullness, shifting the weight back, pivoting, shifting the weight forward, taking your step. Good. Now I realize some of you may be having some problem with the mirror image, so I'm going to turn around. I'm going to get closer to the camera, turn around, and we're going to do the same thing. This time we're going to be starting the same way, but actually we're going to be facing the wall as we do it. So feet together, nice tall spine. And here we go. Sink the weight to the left leg. Step out with the right, sweep the left hand across, holding the ball on the right hip, right hand high. Take your step, part the wild horse's mane. Shift back. Bring the ball over to the left hip as you do a little pivot. Step with the right foot, part the wild horse's mane. We're just going to keep going. Take your time. If you're a little slower than me, that's fine. If you're a little faster than me, just try to slow down. Understand what's happening with your feet. Feel the weight get added to the foot. Feel the weight get taken away from the foot. Ensure you always step with the heel first and roll the weight into the toes. We always pivot the foot by keeping the heel on the floor and just pivoting the toes to the outside. All right. Good. Now, Tai Chi walking can be a meditative practice all by itself. Very often when I go outside, because I like to practice in the open air, as I'm getting to my practice space in the yard, I'll very often do my Tai Chi walking. And I just put my hands behind my back, shift and pivot, and just take small steps. Play around with it a little bit. Learn how your body feels and reacts to the change in the surface you're walking on. And try doing some things where perhaps you pivot a lot. Say you want to go back the way you came. How would you be able to do that? Well, I could pivot a quarter of the way around and then pivot a little bit more. Or I could do a 180-degree pivot. It just takes a little bit of thought and understanding how you need to move your feet, how you need to transfer your weight. So it's a good exercise to play with that. Again, what it does is it connects you with your body, connects you with your breath, and it connects you with your mind a little bit. So you can kind of tune out that stuff that you don't need to think about all the time that holds the tension in your body. Let that stuff out. Focus on your breathing. Remember, if we slow the breathing down, that helps put us in that rest and digest state. And the other thing about the breathing, that's kind of like your speedometer a little bit, or your speed indicator, because if I'm breathing slow, I have to move slow. So I want to take a nice deep inhale and a long relaxing exhale. Remember, the exhale is always longer. So this gives me plenty of time to shift my weight and pivot, get myself set up, and now start my inhale for the next form. And again, shift back, inhale or exhale, whatever it happens to be for you. And then the next part. The important thing is that you're not holding your breath and you're not just going through this as fast as you can. Okay? Try to keep it slow, try to keep it even. And I think you're really going to start to have a whole lot of fun playing around with the walking and the forms of Tai Chi. For right now, let's just keep it with the one form, the parting the wild horse's mane. Next time we get together, we'll start throwing the other forms in and some of the transitions. And before you know it, you're going to have this whole thing down so that you can just practice whenever you want to. So thanks again for joining us today. Remember, breathing long, slow, and deep is your key to resting and rejuvenating the body and getting yourself out of that stressful state. All right, take care, be safe, see you next time.